Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks, with your hosts,
Monica.
Susan. Howdy, everybody. I'm Susan with Two Chicks with Hiking Sticks.
I'm Monica.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about Rocky Mountain National Park.
Yes, in Colorado, one of my favorite national parks.
Yeah, it's one of the 63, what they call crown jewel national parks. And I do crown jewel because that's what they call them. It's the 63 most, they're scenic and they're huge. They're usually big. Oh, yeah. I mean, Rocky Mountain's particularly beautiful. But of the 433 National Park Service units, there are 63 that are designated as actual national parks, as a capital N, capital P national park. So this is one of them.
It really is one of my favorite parks just because it's so gorgeous and it's so scenic. And you can see wildlife there that you can't always see everywhere. And because of the fact that I've only been to 5 national parks, and this is one of them.
So it's extra special.
It's extra special. And I've been there more than once.
Well, if the population, the people that go to Rocky Mountain National Park, it is a very well-traveled park. There's over 4 million people that go to Rocky Mountain National Park. It's down from its peak. It used to have 4.7 million people that used to go to the park. However, they instituted a reservation system, so timed entry. So that has reduced some of the traffic into the park.
When did they start that?
They started that. I think they tested it in 2020, and it's been fully implemented. But and there's 2 different reservations you have to do. There's timed entry, then there's timed entry plus Bear Lake. So you have to really think about, when you look at Rocky Mountain National Park, you have to think about really where you want to go, because it's really large, and there are 3 entrances that you can go into. However, one entrance will allow you to also then go to Bear Lake. But during the high season, which is usually the summertime, sometime in May through the summer season, you have to have reservations to get in.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I haven't been there, I guess, for several years now, and they weren't doing that the last time I went, so.
Yeah. They say that it helps with traffic because that place gets crowded.
Yes.
So you've got the 3 main entrances. You have Fall River, you have Beaver Meadows, and then you have Grand Lake. Those are the 3 main entrances in. Each one of those entrances has a visitor center. There's also a visitor center at the Alpine, I think it's called Alpine Ridge, I think is the top.
Yeah.
It's at 12,000 feet or something. It's one of the tallest. It's off of Trail Ridge Road. And that's usually the road that everybody takes through the park.
That's the one that's paved and winds through.
Yeah.
There's also an unpaved road. I don't remember what it's called. It's a one-way. It's a one-way road.
The one that's up by Alpine?
Yeah, and it closes when the weather is inclement.
Yeah. Yeah, because when I went last time, or the time before, I think it was closed because it had snowed. Sometimes, you go to that Alpine Visitor Center, and there's just snow up there, depending upon the time of year that you go.
Right.
But it's one of the highest, I think the road is the highest elevation road in a national park in the United States.
Yes, I believe that's correct. Yeah.
And you feel it. Mm.
Yeah, that's, I'm going to share something here. Because,
please do.
I know how excited y'all get when I share my own little tidbits. The last time, time before last when I went to Colorado, I've been to Colorado several times, and I've been to Rocky Mountain National Park several times. But most of those times occurred when I was younger. So this last time I went for an antiquarian seminar for books. And this was, I'd say, maybe 15 years ago at Colorado Springs. It was at the university there in Colorado Springs. And the antiquarian seminar was being held there on campus, and we were staying at a dorm kind of off the campus, a few blocks away, and we were hauling books, and I had a one of those roller bags, and I was taking my books with me, and I remember driving in, and setting up, and had to go to the first class, and I had my books in this bag thing that I was rolling, and I just remember I was with another lady, and we were huffing and puffing, and we weren't climbing anything. We were just walking down the street. And I was like, what is going on here? I have never felt am I getting sick? Do I have allergies? What is going on? And then it occurred to me that I was suffering from altitude issues. I have never, up to that point, I had never, ever, ever experienced anything regarding altitude when I was younger. It never fazed me. And all of a sudden, I realized
We ain't young anymore.
I'm getting older, and little things like this. So I share this with you because if you think that you're just going to drive up there, make yourself some time, and go for a hike, think again. Acclimate yourself slowly, drink a lot of water, and give yourself a couple of days before you schedule yourself for a trip and a hike. I'm just saying.
Well, and I have to second that because when I went, one of the times that I went, seriously, I woke up the next morning after getting there at night, woke up the next morning, had a headache from I don't know where.
Mm-hmm.
I could not hardly even function.
Yeah.
And that altitude, you really got to try and get used to it, especially because, like, I live at like less than 1,000 feet above sea level here in San Antonio, but yeah, up there, it gets high.
It's no joke.
It's no joke. Don't mess with it. Yeah, don't mess with it. Make sure you take your time, drink your water. But, again, going back to the park itself, so coming in the Fall River, that's my favorite way to go into the park, the Fall River entrance.
Me too.
Because you see more wildlife, I think, that stretch.
I agree.
It's prettier. They always have the bighorn sheep, and they have elk that are around. But it's a nice way to get into, then eventually connect to the Trail Ridge Road, which everybody wants to be on the Trail Ridge Road. So you always have to look to see before you go to make sure Trail Ridge Road is open. Like right now, I don't know that it's actually open because it's still kind of off-season for them, and there may be snow up there. So you have to check that in advance before you go.
Yeah, I agree with you about that entrance. Also, because when you drive in through that entrance, there is a plain, and so the plain is flat, and then the mountains are on the other side. So a lot of times, if you go at dusk or even early in the morning, you'll see them coming down from the mountain to get to the plain to get to the water, and that's the best way to view a lot of the wildlife that's there.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think that's a great place to do that. Beaver Meadows is probably the most populated place to enter the park, so you will hit lines going into the park generally there. Grand Lake, I would say, is another one of those entrances that is not heavily trafficked. So it's kind of like if you look at the park, you think on the right-hand side is Fall River, on the left-hand side is Grand Lake, and in the middle is Beaver Meadows.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think also if you're planning on staying anywhere in the area, you're probably going to stay either in Boulder or Estes Park or Lyons, which is closer to the Fall River entrance.
Yeah. There's lots of like cabins and places that you can stay at along that route getting up to the Fall River entrance, which are really nice and pretty, and that water over there is really pretty too.
Yeah. It's just a gorgeous area altogether.
It is. It's very nice. But again, that's the park itself too. So, you can go into the park. Obviously, plenty of things to do in the park. The thing I found interesting about this park, though, was that I think almost 95% of it now has been designated as a wilderness area. So the Wilderness Act was passed like in the 60s, and when it was, a small smidgen portion of Rocky Mountain National Park was designated as wilderness. It wasn't until much, much later that, in fact, this was like this century, like 2009, that there was a whole lot more of Rocky Mountain National Park that was designated as wilderness. So now it's up to about 95% of the park is wilderness. And what does that mean?
Well, I don't know what that means, but how can you have a gigantic park in the mountains and not consider that wilderness?
Well, it has to be designated because once you designate it as wilderness, at least as I understand it, is that you cannot build and construct permanent structures anywhere on it.
Okay.
So if you look at a map of Rocky Mountain National Park and you look at the land that is designated as wilderness, you can see the part that's not, right? The 5% or so that is not.
Right.
And that's generally your entrances because you've got visitor centers there, you've got structures, and then the road that's built to go all the way up and around Trail Ridge Road, right? Up to the Alpine Visitor Center. That's all the part that's not wilderness.
Okay.
But all the other lands are, which means that those lands are now protected.
Well, that helps me because I didn't understand the designation of wilderness. I mean, what difference does it make to designate something wilderness when obviously it is wilderness? But I understand now, so thank you.
Because
learning.
People will want to build.
That's true.
If there is land, they will want to build.
Yes.
So, so again, the park has so many hiking trails and so many opportunities for people to take advantage of nature that's out there. And I'll admit, when I went, the last time I went, 23, I think, in 23, There are some nice trails out there that you can do that are not long, particularly if you're still getting adjusted to the altitude. But then they have some trails that are like bigger and longer and a lot of elevation gain, which gets you to some beautiful views. There are some pretty falls, like Alberta Falls is a trail you can take that'll get you to the Alberta Falls. Plenty of options out there for you to get out and to picnic, because we like to picnic in the park.
Yes, yes. Honestly, that's why this is one of my favorite destinations, favorite parks, because the range of hiking trails is so wide. I mean, there is literally something for everybody. Now, I don't know, and I don't remember, do you know if there are accessible trails? It's something that you don't really look for when you don't need it.
Right, yeah, you don't. But I know that if you need an accessible wheelchair that can get you over some of the trails, they do have those that you can rent. There's a special place that you call and you can reserve one.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
okay.
It is awesome that they offer that. It's a separate company that they work with, but there is a phone number. I think it's on their website as well.
Okay. Well, we'll link to their website on our blog and have some more information on that.
Yeah, and as I said, the picnicking area, just the places to go around. When you go around through Trail Ridge Road, there's many places to stop. A Forest Canyon Overlook, they've got a Rainbow Curve, they've got any number of places that you can stop and take pictures. And generally speaking, they're going to be the popular places that most people are stopping at. So they're going to be kind of crowded, or places that you can park are going to be kind of crowded. But patience wins over all the time. So if you take your time and you are patient, you're going to find parking to see some of the beautiful sights.
And if you're not going to hike, as you're going up Trail Ridge Road, there are places on that road where you can pull off and take some pictures, if hiking isn't your thing. And then once you get up to the Trail Ridge store, there's ample places, opportunities to get out and just bask in the glory that is the Rocky Mountains.
Bask in the glory of the Rocky Mountains.
That's right.
Which, and the other thing too about the Rocky Mountain National Park is the different ecosystems that they have, because you really climb through different elevations and all. So you have what they call the montane ecosystem, which is the warm and dry, and it's less than 9,000 feet. Then you have the subalpine, and then you have the alpine tundra, and Rocky Mountain National Park has all of those, so you really can experience not just the fact that the elevation changes, but you can experience the animals and the flora/fauna that are in these ecosystems to really experience it.
And just know you go from prairies up to mountains, and there's no trees, and then there's trees, and then there's no trees again. That's what I know. But I'm sure it all falls in line with everything you just said.
Well, it does, but that's what makes it such a unique place for us to visit.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I thought that was really cool.
It is cool.
But as I said, timed entry, make sure you do that in advance when those things open up. You've got to make sure you have that, because it is no joke. They do not let you in unless you have your timed entry reservation in hand. Again, depending upon the time of year you go, we have typically gone in May/June, and there's been snow in a lot of the places, and you'll want to be sure you have proper gear for that if you go at that time.
Another story that I'm going to share with y'all is I went with some friends, and we drove straight through from San Antonio up to Estes Park.
That's a long drive.
Yeah, it was a long drive. But there were 4 of us, so, we were taking turns and drove up through. And so we drove straight through. It was a Saturday. It was in April. I remember that. It was right around this time of year. We got to our cabins, and of course, you get there, you've been driving, everybody just hits the bed, and you go to sleep. And we slept for like 12 hours. We woke up, and overnight, 15 inches of snow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was some freak snowstorm that came in. Overnight, 15 inches. It was insane. Of course, though, they're used to it. They immediately plow the roads out, and we got to go to the park, but the park was a completely different experience than the time I'd been there before. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, be prepared for anything.
Well, and it's funny because when we had gone, I think this was in 21, there had been a snowstorm right before we had gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they said it was like a freak storm because it was at a time of year they normally don't get like
Right.
regular snow, right?
Right.
But it was a freak storm that dumped like 2 feet of snow or something.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's weird how that happens, but because we don't live in a climate that does that.
Right. Yeah. So but gosh, so gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a place that you'll want to take several days to explore if you want to do all of it. But I highly recommend, as I said, go in, check out all the entrances, make sure you do all the visitor centers, go up to Alpine Ridge, because then you can also do a climb outside of the visitor center there at the very top that takes you to the Continental Divide. I think there's a Continental Divide type trail that you can go and you can overlook that too.
I did that when I was younger. Not so much now.
Well, it's funny that since I've been hiking so much more in these past few years, I look back on 2021, doing the Alberta Falls hike, I couldn't do it at that time because and it's not even that it was long. I think it's like, I don't know, 1.6 miles or something. But the elevation was just enough at the altitude that I was like, I was dying. So we didn't get to finish it. But I'm much better now at elevation because I've done more at elevation to be able to do that type of hike. So it's just something that you have to kind of know what your limits are. But if you've done, a 300 elevation before and you go to Rocky Mountain, it's not going to be the same kind of 300 elevation because you're already at an altitude. So you really got to make sure that you're listening to your body first.
Yeah, and there's no shame in going up halfway and saying, okay, this is it, I'm done, and coming back around. You hike your own hike. That's what we say.
Yeah, and that's what I did because the Alberta Falls is a in and out. It's not a loop or anything. So, it's like, yeah, people were coming down, but I'm turning around because I was dying.
Yeah.
It was not sightly. It was unsightly. But, this is how you learn. You learn what your body's capable of, and then, you continue to do more and more, a little bit more, and you eventually can handle that kind of elevation.
The other nice thing that I like about this park is that it really is situated near some great accessible areas to stay. There's Estes Park itself, there's Lions, and then you're not too far from Boulder, and you're also not too far from Denver if you wanted to make it a day trip. So it's an excellent park for staying and visiting several times, or for just doing one long day trip and some short hikes. There's a lot of options with this park, I think.
Yeah, and to your point, like Estes Park, hop, skip, and a jump.
Which I love.
I mean,
love Estes.
It's wonderful. There's a main street. It's got lots of shops. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to see a herd of elk down there because there are always elk in Estes Park.
Yes, and the traffic, if you're wondering why you're driving through a smaller town and the traffic is stopped, there's some elk up there somewhere. Don't approach them. Don't be dumb like I was when I was young. Get on, take a picture. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I think that's a really good point. You know that when you're like, for instance, if you're on Trail Ridge Road or pick a road that's in the park, if all of a sudden cars are stopped or they have flashers on, you know that there is an animal sighting somewhere.
Yep. Someone has seen something.
Yeah, and so that's the protocol, is that you put your flashers on.
What have you seen there?
I've seen elk, moose, bighorn sheep, of course, a gazillion chipmunks.
Yes.
The stellar jay, the bird. Trying to think of what other animals.
I saw something. I've seen all those, and then one time, the last time I was there, we saw something, but it was so far away, and by the time I got to my binoculars, I took a picture of it, but even zooming in, you couldn't really tell. I couldn't tell if it was a wolf or a coyote. Really? Are wolves? Do you know if wolves are in that area?
I don't know if they come all the way down. I don't know.
But it was interesting. Hard to tell.
Yeah,
it's just
a little blurry.
Yeah, a little blurry. It could have been a wolf or a coyote, but also have seen.
But that made me think that Rocky Mountain National Park is also considered to be kind of part of the boreal forest, which I would say surprised me. I don't know if it surprises you out there, but because I think of the boreal forest being that, that band that goes around kind of, around the Arctic line that goes around the Arctic Circle. That stretches, from like, Alaska to Newfoundland to Russia all the way around. But that what they have found is that in Rocky Mountain National Park that there are similar species, both trees, animals, things, that are also in the boreal forest.
Maybe due to the altitude?
That's all they can think of, is that maybe because it's a high point, but that it's that far south, that's unusual because, you think of how far south that is from those bands that are up in like Canada and Alaska.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's not unheard of, but it's that they found it and they have confirmed that they call it part of the boreal forest.
I wonder if it's not the same. I know it's not the same. I'm not comparing here. But you know how in Texas, you know how here in Texas we have the piney woods.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then we have the lost pines.
Yeah.
Over near Bastrop. Because there's that swath where there's no forest at all. You got the piney woods and you've got the national forest. And then there's like nothing. And then all of a sudden you have that little patch of pines where Bastrop and
Are they the loblolly pines?
No,
Okay.
and I don't know. I just know there's pines, and they call them the lost pines.
Yeah,
because they're
lost pines,
not connected to the big pine forest. And something happened that created that swath of clear land. Which I mean, I don't think it was. If I remember reading history a little, not much history. Okay, a little bit. I don't think it was man-made. That swath.
Probably not. Yeah.
And that's why they say sometimes they can see Bigfoot there. But I digress. Okay, go ahead.
There's Bigfoot in Texas?
Yes, haven't you heard that?
Chupacabra.
Well, the chupacabra, but come on. There have been Bigfoot sightings in Texas.
Okay.
In the piney woods.
Really?
In the piney woods, yes. Somebody back me up. Somebody write something in the comments and talk about how you've read or you've heard or you've seen Bigfoot in the piney woods of Texas. I know we're talking about Colorado, but
anyhow. But it's all related in a way.
It's all related, yes.
It's outdoors. So, anyhow, so now, again, if we kind of think about the hiking that you can do, I would recommend a couple of easy hikes for you. So Sprague Lake is a nice, fairly flat-ish loop, and it's a beautiful little place to walk around. You get some wonderful stops along there that you can take some beautiful pictures of the mountains. If you're lucky, one of the times we were there, somebody was having a wedding or some pictures that they were taking, because there's a little place you can stand out. But it's a beautiful backdrop, and it's a really nice little loop. It's like less than a mile. It's like 0.7, I think. And then Bear Lake, if you get reservations to do Bear Lake, you should get reservations to do Bear Lake, because number one, the road to Bear Lake has a lot of other trailheads on it. So you will want to at least have a day that you do Bear Lake. And then if you do the trail on Bear Lake, the Bear Lake Trail or Loop, that's also like, I want to say 0.7, 0.8 miles as well. But these trails, these loops, that you will want to make sure that you have your hiking sticks, because it will be very helpful for you.
Every time you go on a hike.
Every time.
Every time.
Don't leave home without them.
That's right. I don't. I keep them in my car all
You
the
do?
time. Yes.
They're in my truck.
Yep.
Yep.
Always there, just in case. You never know.
In case I'm walking down the street and need a stick.
You don't know. You don't know. We
That
talked
is true.
about that before. I'm not going to belabor the point
Yes.
today.
Some other day maybe, but anyhow, so I would recommend Rocky Mountain National Park. Again, check it out, make your plans, know in advance when you want to go so you can get your reservations in. Definitely a place you'll want to get out and walk around and do some of the hikes. Definitely a place you're going to want to take a lot of pictures. You're going to want to look out for the animals. Again, if you go in the morning or in the early evening, you're going to see more of the animals during that time.
Yeah. You definitely want to. If that's your goal, is to try to get some pictures of wildlife, you're going to want to go at dawn or at dusk.
Yeah.
Okay? And there will be other cars there, lots of other cars, all parked to the side, waiting for the same thing as you are. So just be patient and enjoy the view. I mean, that's what you're there for.
That's right.
Is to enjoy it. And so, just as a side note, because, I will try to hammer this into everyone, take your stuff. Okay? If you're going to go for a hike, even if it's a short hike, we've got the downloadable checklists on the website. Plan when you're going to go. Decide ahead of time, if you can, which hikes you want to do. If it's going to be a short one, look at your list and take the stuff with you that you need. Because you never know what could happen. Okay?
I agree 100%.
Prepare.
And I would say, too, always go to the visitor center. They have a really nice newspaper that they put out here, because some of the parks do this. They have a nice newspaper that you can get in the visitor center. You can talk to the rangers, know what trails are open, what's closed.
Yes.
Any recommendations, or if there have been animal sightings or what have you. They're going to tell you. And then that newspaper has every hike that you could possibly want to take and tells you, kind of the elevation or how long it is and what have you.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the trail maps that they give you there are topographical, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't
they may have topography on them already, and if you don't know how to read a map, I would suggest REI. I don't know if they do recently. They used to do free classes on orienteering, or if they charged, it was very little. And it's just a one-time class. You get a compass and you get a map. You may never have to use them, but you're getting a free topographical map. At least you can look at it and understand, all those lines, the closer they are together, it means the higher the mountain is. The further apart they are, yeah, exactly. The further apart they are, well, that elevation's going to go a little bit slower, and it's going to be easier for me on that trail. You can learn to at least read the basics and make your hike more comfortable as you plan to do these things.
Yeah. But definitely always go to the visitor center, talk to the rangers, because they're the ones that know the most about what's happening that day.
Yeah.
So just be prepared, because we want to see you again.
We do want to see you again, and take your stuff. Don't forget.
Your hike.
Hike your own hike.
Make sure you subscribe to our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
When you get our little notifications.
Yes. Click like, subscribe, click for the notifications.
Gotta click the notifications for the bell.
Yeah, we're not talking about the bell. And and then check out our podcast. We're going to have information, maybe some extra information, and links to the park so that you can check in, get your time, do whatever you need to do before you go.
You can catch us every Thursday at 10 o'clock Central Time.
Yes, that's the plan.
That's the plan. All right. Until next time, hike your hike.
Hike your own hike.
Bye.
Bye.